Wow, stories.
Am I an idiot for objecting to a group of people coming in and playing a loud game at my table in a coffee shop? My team at work is remote, so I work from home. I typically spend part of my workday at a local coffee shop where most customers are working on their computers. It's a popular spot, so sometimes it's hard to find a table. Often customers who don't know each other will end up sharing the largest tables. When I arrived at the coffee shop today, the only open table was the largest table in the shop. It wasn't an enormous table. It seats 5 people total, but only 4 comfortably. I set up my computer and got to work. I was finishing up a weeks-long project against a deadline later today. About half an hour later, 2 men approached the table and asked if anyone was sitting on the other side. I said no and moved my sweatshirt off the table to make room for them. I assumed they were there to work because they wore backpacks. They set their backpacks down and went to order their drinks. When they came back, one of them said to me, "Just so you know, 6 more people are coming and we are going to play Dungeons and Dragons here, so it will be pretty loud." I objected. I said that it was fine if they were here to work or have conversation on the other side of my table, but trying to squeeze 7 people into the 4 remaining seats and playing a loud party game wasn't going to work for me. They told me I was entitled and that, because this was a public space, I basically just had to deal with it. I thought this was rude. I told them they were crowding me out of my own table because it would be impossible for me to work at the table if they were using it as a game table with a lot of other people. They had already asserted that it would get very loud. I decided to leave because I didn't have time to waste with a fast-approaching deadline. As I was packing up, they mocked me for being upset, saying that they were confident I'd figure it out and that this too shall pass. Because there were no open seats in the coffee shop, I just went home. To me, it seems that if someone is at a table first, then anyone who joins that table should be basically respectful of that person. Yes, it's a public space, but am I really entitled to ask that they not disrupt my table with a loud game because I was already sitting there? What's the etiquette for sharing tables in a public space? Edit. To clarify, this coffee shop is right next to a university. Some people bring 27-plus-inch desktop monitors and camp out all day. I don't. 95–100% of customers are studying or working. It's definitely the norm at this shop, more so than others I go to. Before my current laptop-based job, I worked as a barista for several years. I know to share space, and I also keep buying things to pay for the space I occupy. I buy something every hour, including at least 1 meal each time I'm there, and I usually stay 1–3 hours. I did not expect or ask for silence or quiet. The coffee shop normally has ambient noise. My objection was specifically about these men using the table as a D&D game table with a group too large to fit, because this effectively forced me off the table. Not an idiot. I don't know how people are saying you're an idiot. They crowded 7 people into a table with only 4 seats and you were already there. They could have done this anywhere else. You're not an idiot, but you should probably start working in a library to avoid this in the future. Not an idiot. If they were 1 table over and loud, I'd say suck it up and deal with it. But if you were at the table first and they asked to join and you graciously allowed them to, you didn't have to. They should show at least enough respect to 1, not take up more than half the table, and 2, not prohibit you from doing what you were doing before they arrived. Am I an idiot for not taking my sister to the ER in my new car? My male 31 sister, female 27, decided to use a power washer yesterday and cut her leg and needed 14 stitches. I'm not exactly sure how she managed to do this to herself, but this isn't the first incident she's had. She's frequently careless with power tools and often tries to do things herself when she shouldn't, leaving messes behind or getting herself hurt. I was in her neighborhood visiting my friend when the incident happened, and I guess she saw my car across the street because she called me and asked me to take her to the emergency room. Now, I have a new expensive car with leather seats, very high-end. When I saw the state her leg was in, it was very messy. She didn't do a good job cleaning it up, and it would definitely ruin my car. I asked her where the keys were to her car and said I'd take her in her car, but she said that she dropped it off for maintenance that day and then started to get into my car. I said no, she should stay there and that I'd find an alternative. I went over to my friends and explained the situation and asked to take his car. He's got a beat-up Toyota. He said no problem, and so I took it. I got my sister to the ER, and I even waited for her and took her home after. But on the way home, she told me I was an idiot for making her wait around when she was in pain, and there was no reason I couldn't take her in my car. I thought I found a reasonable solution, and she wasn't even waiting that long. I'm pretty annoyed with her because I didn't need to devote my whole day to caring for her, and she should be more careful when using these tools. Am I an idiot? Edit 1 for more info. I didn't call an ambulance because she didn't want me to. She didn't want to deal with them or pay a hefty bill, so she called me instead of 911. If she went through the effort to get a hold of me, she would have had an ambulance there if she wanted it. And plus, even after the car situation, I still got her to an emergency room faster than an ambulance would have. Time-wise, I really don't think grabbing towels and stuff from inside would have been much faster. My friend was just across the street, and his car already had supplies and towels and stuff in it because he was taking his car hunting, hence why I didn't think he'd care about the blood. I just thought that was a better all-around option. Edit 2 for an update. I will offer to pay my friend to detail his car. You're an idiot. 14 stitches sounds like a pretty serious wound, and those warrant medical attention as fast as possible. You could have gotten a blanket or a coat or pretty much a dozen other things to protect your car in a fraction of the time it took you to go get your friend's car. Your priorities are out of whack. You're an idiot. And it shows by how you have to denigrate her at the beginning of this post. Where I live, an ambulance won't take you for just some stitches anyway. Way to elevate material goods over care and concern for your sister. And yes, a towel and compression would have easily solved your problem.